Okay, so I am now going to take questions. Now, Tecla asked if there will be a link for this, and yes, actually, this will be posted as a seminar, and this will be posted sometime next week as a seminar on the site. It'll be divided up. The slides will be available to you. I'm actually going to make. I just ran out of time to do this, but I'm going to make a little handout that you can print out and stick on your wall, and I'm going to make a little background image that you can put as the desktop on your as the background for your desktop while you're doing development. That just has those 10 points on it, so that you can remind yourself of those things because I think some people derive a benefit from doing that. So yes, it will be recorded. It is recorded. It will be on the site. Jared asks, where do you find the experts when you are not? What are good sources? Well, we have people on the site. I mean, I've got well, there are, I suppose, lots of different ways you can find experts. I'd encourage you to take a look at the forum. Let's see. The forum actually has a section for members. I'm not logged in. Great. And I can't log in. Anyway, the forum has a section. The forum has a section for members to post their services, and we do have some excellent graphic designers, and we have people who specialize in SEO. We have people who specialize in writing and editing, and there are people here that you could chat with. Let's see, where is it? Yeah, members services. So I encourage you to take a look at that. If you need a suggestion for a specific help, you can always send me an email and I can make a recommendation to you. There are people out there who can help you with this kind of stuff. What are the estimated costs of each of these different skill sets? That's kind of like, how much does it cost to buy a car? There's just too many variables in that conversation in order to really give you a good estimate of that. But I suppose you can imagine that if it requires a lot of work, it's going to be expensive. But so if it doesn't matter, right? If it's one of those things that you're just doing because it has to be done, then it doesn't. Then you're not going to spend the money on it. But if it's an essential part of your business, then then that's one of those necessary things that you have to apply yourself to or apply your resources to. Can I give an example of focused content versus not focused content? Okay, well, focused content really is. I talk about this a little bit in the session about how to make your site Google friendly, where each page needs to be about a single subject. There is I don't have a specific example to show you, but I've certainly seen people with pages with that talk about all of their services on a single page. And so you have what would be the equivalent really of 3 pages worth of content. This kind of service, this kind of service, and this kind of service. That it would be more appropriately divided up into 3 pages, but they stick it all together in a single page. Focused content is content that's about a single subject or a single topic, and that should be reflected both in the outline of the page and in the heading of the page. And if that single page doesn't have a whole bunch of content, that's fine, as long as the page is about a single topic. Okay, let's see who else has questions here. Jeffrey points out that it is so much fun to learn about. And that's exactly right. It is very fun to learn about. I totally get it. And that's what Kitty says too. She just has fun doing it. But, sometimes you have to admit that you're really trying to do this to make money. And if you're really trying to do this to make money, you have to stop just having fun and start putting the buy now button on there. Let's see. Somebody asked whether or not I'm going to put the slides up as PDFs. Yes, I will. The slides will be up there as PDFs. Let's see. Linda, I'm going to unmute your microphone. Linda Wagner. I can find you here. This was a very popular. I didn't expect nearly the response. Where are you? Are you already gone? No, I don't think so. I did not expect this. Oh, there you are. Did not expect this response from people. But this seminar was probably one of the most highly. Well, anyway, lots and lots of people came today. So, anyway, Linda, I've just unmuted your microphone. Are you with me? There you go.
I am.
Good. Go ahead and ask your question.
Okay, it's Linda Warner, by the way.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yes.
No worries. So my question is, following your kind of iterative approach or layering approach as we're creating our site and putting up our draft content and such, how do we hide the site so that the public cannot see it? So how do we have like some sort of splash page or whatever so they see that as we build out our content?
Okay, well, there are a handful of ways to do this. You can use a plugin that will display, essentially an under construction page, or it could display a single page, essentially, whatever page you want. It can display a single page to anybody who's not logged into the site. And then if you're logged in, you can see. Now, if you do that, you need to make sure you deactivate it if you ask me questions, because I can't see your site when it's in that situation. That's one strategy. If you're using Thesis 2, another strategy is to use my under construction skin, and then use Thesis 2 in development mode. So you have one forward-facing skin that everybody who's not logged in sees, and then the skin you're working on, which is what everybody does, which is what you see if you're logged in. You can also just develop this on a development server, which is what I actually generally recommend doing if it's important that somebody never see the site until it's finished. Now, I think that's generally overrated, but if that is important, then I would do it on a subdomain of the site, and then just make sure that the site is specified not to be indexed by Google. Right, you can do that. You can do that in, I think it's the reading settings. It used to be under privacy settings, but that's gone now. In WordPress 3.5.1, I believe it is settings, and I think it's reading, where right here, search engine visibility, discourage search engines from indexing the site. If you check that, it's never going to be indexed, so the person would have to know the name of the development subdomain before they could go to it. And I usually think that that's good enough. The trick is that when you move the site to its live domain, you're going to want to make sure you uncheck that box. So, but I think you can probably remember to do that without too much difficulty. So.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Is there any particular plugins you recommend if we're not doing a Thesis 2 install?
I don't have one to recommend, no. But, I've seen a couple of them on the WordPress.org repository. and I've seen a couple of them in action. They seem to both work fine. So I would just try something and see. What you really want is something that you can customize a little bit, right? So it
Exactly.
right, you can put a header logo in and stuff like that, and so somebody actually sees something besides under construction.
Yep. Excellent. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You have a good day.
You too.
Bye bye. Okay, Tecla. Let's see, where are you, Tecla? Good morning, Tecla. I just unmuted your microphone.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing good.
Good.
Hoping to learn.
Good.
I'm really excited about it. I think you're a great instructor.
Well, thank you. So, what were your questions?
Okay, my question is, I bought the thesis too, but I'm sort of afraid to get started. I'm working in another website with another. Anyway, where do I go to find instructions on the thesis too? To hopefully be able to find information. I noticed you put it step by step, and that's what I'm looking for.
Well, yeah. I mean, I've got stuff like that all over my website. I guess I would say that the best place to start with Thesis 2 is here in this new class, Build a Responsive Professional Website with Thesis 2. That's where I would start.
Right. I went to the number 6,
Uh-huh.
and I work on that, but for some reason I'm a little confused on how to do it. I'm interested in learning the thesis 2 only, and not anything else. Do you have specific information for that?
Well, my whole site is about 3 themes, right? It's Thesis 1, Thesis 2, and Genesis.
Mm-hmm.
So my site is, I don't have just a site for Thesis 2, no. And I don't have, I mean, I think I'm probably the best learning resource there is out there for Thesis 2, but I don't have anything that's just Thesis 2.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, I was sort of trying to wait out, so I would only work on the information for thesis 2, but I'm just going to have to see how I do that.
Well, I mean, it should be pretty easy for you to identify whether or not the material is about Thesis 2, right? Okay. Because this class is all about Thesis 2 plus plugins and that kind of stuff. And then if you go, I mean, we have lots of other stuff on the site about Thesis 2 as well. So if you go over to the lesson subjects and just look at using Thesis 2 lesson subjects and customizing Thesis 2 lesson subjects, I mean, I've got tons of stuff here about it indexed under those 2 categories. I have 2 full classes on Thesis 2. I have the responsive skin class and I have the responsive website class. So, okay.
Okay, I just haven't been looking enough. Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a good day.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, let's see. So, okay, Bliss has a question. Good morning, Bliss. I've just unmuted your microphone.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Okay. Really didn't have much of a question. I was just making a comment.
Okay.
Because I've discovered in myself from time to time that I decide that this isn't really going to work when I get it published. Why should I waste all this time? And so, making the tweaks and the planning and all that other stuff is just a way to not have to face the reality of whether or not it works or whether or not people like what I say.
Well, that's true. That is, you can work on starting a small business without ever really starting the business, right?
Right.
Because the business, really deep down inside, you think the business model is not going to be effective, but but you still, for whatever reason, want to work on a business, so you're working on it. Although my guess is that the chances are that if you're that kind of person, you're probably not a good evaluator of whether or not what you have to say is useful, because you're going to be prone to be negative about it. And
Well,
then,
in part, it's because, there's like a billion websites out there, and this one small thing it is that I want to do, I, don't see it getting recognized or used, I guess is really more the correct word.
but you're not going to know that till you try it.
Right,
And
that's the rub.
which means then that if you're in that situation, that what you want to do is a couple things. One of them is minimize the investment of resources in testing it. Right? So that means you're going to present a fairly simple site for it. Right? Because maybe it's not an effective, maybe it's not a marketable product for one reason or another. So you're not going to spend thousands of dollars and a ton of time developing a site for it, because it might not be a viable business model. But you can spend some time and a little bit of money on it to test it. And then the second thing is you need to give it time. I make my living full time doing this now, but at the end of the first year of me working full time on this, my wife working full time on it, and some employees in the Philippines working full time on it, we grossed $8,400 in the first 12 months. So,
Right.
You have to decide what your horizon of success is going to be. Now that we're 3.5 years into it, we're pretty dang glad we stuck with it. But at the end of year one, we weren't sure it was going to be successful, and we were just continuing to essentially invest time and energy in it anyway, because we thought it had a reasonable chance. So, two things: simplify it, simplify the resources that you put into it as you're testing it, and second, give it have a long enough horizon for success. I'm going to be talking about this in my blog class here. I'm preparing a class on how to create and monetize a niche blog. And one of the things that's evident to me in the niche that I'm going to be working in is that a lot of people have tried this for a few months and then stopped. But not very many people have stuck with it for more than 2 or 3 years. And if it's an online business, it's going to take some time to develop. So,
Well, mine's basically a lead generating website. That's its purpose.
and so if it's lead generating, then it doesn't need to have a lot in it, right? It doesn't have to need
Right.
to have a lot of cool graphics or anything like that. It needs to have enough content on it that somebody will find it by searching for that service or product. And
Well, I was planning on relying quite a bit on AdWords.
well, then you don't even need an excessive amount of content. You need to have enough content to keep AdWords happy, but that can be a fairly low cost, low investment, small site then.
Well, yeah, I can have maybe 4 pages, a blog, and 1 video.
Well, so don't spend too much time working on the graphics, right? Don't spend any time working on spacing of elements one thing to another. Keep all that stuff very simple. And if you feel like you have to have some graphic elements to it, look around for very simple graphic sites that you like, or sites with very simple graphics that you like that you can emulate, and then just do it quickly. spend a bunch of time on it.
Mm-hmm.
Just get it out there and see. Because really, if it's purple or if it's red or if it's brown, that's not going to be a deciding factor in whether or not somebody gives you a lead.
Right. Well, yeah, I am kind of on a minimum effort approach just to getting it out there and done. And just see what happens.
Yeah. That's how I do it.
Good. Thanks
Hey,
very much.
You betcha. Good luck.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, let's see. Next up, okay. Amy, I've just unmuted your microphone. Good morning, Amy.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well. So you have a question about draft publishing?
Yeah, right. You had mentioned publish it, even if you're at 80%, go ahead and publish it. You say, is that to the public? Go ahead and put it out to the public, even if it's only 80%?
Depends on the situation. If you're building your first site,
Yes.
and you're building it on your domain, sure, why not?
Okay. I guess I just worry about the content being good, correct, that sort of thing. I get into that perfection piece, though, too, like you mentioned.
Well, good and correct are pretty subjective.
This is true.
And are you doing your own editing, or are you having somebody edit for you?
Right now, we're just doing it ourselves. I'm contemplating getting help, though.
Well, so in that case, I would definitely do it first. I mean, I generally even write my drafts in the editor itself. So I write a draft and then I publish it. And then I go back and start looking through it to see if there's a little thing here or there's a little thing there to change. And I go back after it's published and I add the headings and things like that. But I usually try to get the content out there as soon as possible, get it indexed as quickly as possible, and but I don't set something aside, and say, okay, I'm going to come back to it in a couple of weeks if I'm not happy with it. But
Okay, that makes sense.
But if you're building your own site from scratch, really, all you have to do is just turn off the indexing by Google, and you can publish the stuff draft. And then if you're having somebody else edit for you, they can just look at your site, right? And they can see what and make suggestions and that kind of stuff.
Okay, that works.
But it takes a little while for Google to index you and for you to start showing up in search results. So the sooner Google sees your stuff, the sooner that's going to happen for you. And Google doesn't care if it's perfect. So
right.
I would say, sooner is always better. And unless you are a horrible writer and you know it, at which point you should, you should.
I don't think I'm that bad, but.
Yeah, well, if you're a perfectionist as a writer, then you're not a horrible writer, and then it's not that big a deal one way or another, because nobody's going to be as critical about your writing as you are.
Right.
So, and what really matters is getting it there and getting it working, not getting it perfect.
Got it. Appreciate it.
Okay. You're welcome. Anything else?
Now, I noted somebody asked about a maintenance mode plugin, and one I've used recently is the Ultimate Coming Soon page, and it's got a splash page with a option to collect email addresses.
Uh-huh.
And so I've got that up on my page right now.
This one,
Seed prod.
this one right
Yeah,
here.
that's it. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Well, it looks like, people really like it.
Hmm.
It's been downloaded and used a lot. That's probably a great suggestion.
Yeah.
Thank you very
I had
much.
to pay somebody to figure it out for me, but
Oh, well,
I
that
got
sounds
it
like
done.
maybe there's a class in it for me then.
Oh God, yes, I would definitely say do a class on it because it was pretty complicated for me.
Oh, okay.
But I'm new at this too
Yeah.
because it was tying it into my Aweber account, and so I had confusion on what resides on Aweber, what am I pulling from Aweber,
Mm-hmm.
and what resides on the WordPress site.
Sure. Well,
So,
I'll add that to my list of stuff I'm going to teach.
okay,
Okay. You have a good day,
that'd be
Amy.
great.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. You too.
Bye-bye. Okay, let's see. Patina. Where are you here? Patina. There you go. Hi, Patina.
Hi, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Fine, thank you very much.
Good.
I had a question because I need to create a gallery, and I don't know which plugin, and I've searched around a bit, that would do something that I want to do, which is show multiple images, and in this case, it's for someone who does stamped concrete, and so they would have different colors as well as different stamps. And one of the things that he wants to do for his customers is allow them to kind of save their favorites, or email a link of favorites to a spouse. Is there a plugin that offers that capability?
Yeah, there is. Well, okay. In terms of favorites, we'll separate these. There is a favorites plugin.
Okay.
There is also a email. Email this page to plugin.
Okay.
Let's see.
Is there one where there's an email, I guess, email selection? So, for instance, they might have 40 different colors or stamps on one page for a certain type of application, or let's say 20, and they want their spouse or their architect to view 2 or 3 of those. That they check it off and then email it to themselves or to someone else?
That's a good question. I'm going to have to think about that one. I don't know, but I might be able to give you an answer by Wednesday. I don't know of
That would be awesome.
I don't know of a solution like that specifically, but
You know, if I can find something broken or complicated, I will do it.
okay. Well,
Or something that people haven't thought about yet. But I did want to mention that there is a great website and company called Marketing Experiments.
oh yes, marketing experiments is great.
Yeah, and so you were talking about creating the value proposition and the
Mhm.
calls to action for companies.
Yeah.
They have some absolutely wonderful free videos that all you have to do is register for that I would highly recommend.
Yeah.
And there is a new.
I am a marketing experiments consumer, although I'm not sure that I'm a good example of marketing experiments. I'm not a good example of a follower, but I'm definitely a consumer.
Yeah.
They are focused on bigger companies, right? Many
They
of the
definitely are, but you can apply many of their strategies to smaller companies.
well,
Many
especially the
companies.
stuff like you're talking about value propositions and stuff like that.
Oh,
It's-
absolutely. And just understanding where and how much information to kind of put on
Mhm.
your website
The flow of information. I agree.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
The flow of information for someone, I mean, it
Yep.
is just unbelievable how many people or how many web designers don't put things in the kind of right spot.
Right.
But I also wanted to say that there's a new book on mobile usability that I found at the bookstore about a month ago, and it's absolutely marvelous.
What's
And
the
if
name
you
of it?
like, it's simply called Mobile Usability. And I don't know that I'm going to get the last name or the first name of the second author, but it's by Jacob Nelson. And I'm not even going to
That's
begin
okay.
to pronounce the first or last name of the second individual.
So
But
this
they
one right
have,
here, Nielsen,
yes, absolutely.
Jakob
It's
Nielsen.
absolutely wonderful.
Great. Thank you for the suggestion.
You're welcome, and I look forward to hearing about plugins.
Okay.
Like I said, I've looked quite a bit, and I just have not been able to find one with those types of tools.
I'll try to have an answer for you Wednesday morning.
Okay, thank you
Okay.
very much. So I should be on the webinar?
Why not?
Okay,
Okay. We'll talk to you then.
thanks.
Bye
Bye.
bye. Okay. Let's see. Okay, Randy. Randy, I just unmuted your microphone. So you got a comment or a question? Randy Anderson. I can hear you in the background. Randy? Okay, he says, I need to find that line between perfection and crap. Because if I go to a website that looks like crap, I assume their product or service is crappy as well. Yeah, and I totally agree with that, except that look at Amazon's site. There's not a lot of graphic stuff going on Amazon's site. Does it look crappy? You know, no, I don't think it does look crappy. I mean, you know, it's got a little logo. It's got a very minimal, you know, breadcrumb trail. It's got very minimal navigation. It and then it doesn't have anything special going on, right? I mean, just one thing on top of another. That's all it is. But everybody buys stuff from Amazon, and so I believe it is absolutely possible. I'm going to show you what I think is an example of a very outstanding site of one of our members, Deborah Savadra, savadra.net. Okay. This site has very little graphic stuff going on, right? Her business is all about copywriting, and it's all fonts and words. And I think she's doing okay, right? Nobody's going to decide, I'm not going to click here to read because this thing doesn't line up with that thing. Even though she'd say to herself, you know, I really want these two things to line up. The same thing is true with this kind of stuff across the bottom. And she has a very pleasing, very easily read type of site. And I think that it's not likely that people will say, you know, I'm not going to do business with Deborah because of the way her site looks. Her site looks great, and it's very simple. All right, nothing complicated about it. Not a lot of graphic elements to it. It's just a very simple site that looks good. So, yeah, and then there are totally crappy sites, right? That look horrible. Chances are it looks horrible because they thought they were a graphic designer, or their wife was a graphic designer, or their, you know, and so they did what they did. And yeah, that probably doesn't look that great, but that's why I suggest acknowledging that you're not a graphic designer and either hiring it or keeping it very, very simple. Let's see. Angelique asks me if we can have a section where we might hook up coders and with designers. You know, unfortunately, we don't really have any coders as members. I mean, everybody that's a member on my site that is a coder, probably doesn't work freelance. They're just working on their own stuff. I would say that the best place to go for coders for Thesis 2 would be the DIY themes classified section, because there are plenty of coders. Well, there are enough coders there for you to get the help undoubtedly that you need. And if you need some specific help and need a suggestion, I'm glad to ask it. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to unmute Jeffrey Bullock's microphone here. Morning, Jeffrey. I just unmuted your microphone.
Hey, Rick.
So you're talking about stages and addressing stages?
Well, thinking about the trade-off when you're doing that very initial planning, and I'm sorry I don't recall all of the language that you used
okay.
on your diagram, but I'm wondering about developing a site in stages when you know, for instance, okay, I need some basic content and contact information first.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to complete that. And then eventually I'm going to add in the membership section. So I'll do that as stage 2, but I'm not going to worry about it until after stage 1 is done, other than in the initial planning, perhaps knowing that I want that. And then stage 3, I'm going to add online scheduling. I guess I'm wondering about the trade-off between that approach, which would seem to allow getting something done more quickly, weighed off against the potential difficulties of overlaying something that might affect the architecture of the site in general.
Well, I think if your plan is to have a membership site, then you probably, even if you're going to build it in stages like that, you probably want to consider the membership site in the architecture in your initial plan. You may not end up building it for a while, and you may not bother with building the skeleton of it for a while, but you should at least consider it in your plan so that you can think about the relationship of that architecture to everything else.
Right.
For example, how much of it is going to be visible and how much of it is going to be hidden. And
and how you might integrate it into your navigation eventually, so you make sure that you've got navigation that you're not going to have to totally rewrite, things like that.
Yes, absolutely. And in fact, what one of our members has done is they know that they have X number of pages that they're going to create, and their navigation has a strong graphic element to it. So they want to design their navigation without actually creating those pages yet. And so they just created dummy pages to stick to the navigation in order for them to be able to do that. And then they'll just disconnect it, and those dummy pages until they're ready to add them. Right. And I think that's a possibility. If you're worried about what it should look like, though, I would probably just do something like that in Photoshop or Fireworks or some other graphic editing program. If the question is, well, what's the menu going to look like with the membership stuff on it? What's it going to look like without? You can do you can answer that question best, really, with a graphics program rather than doing it on your website. But
sure. And one other question, you spoke a couple of times about emulating a theme, emulating something that you liked, but didn't speak specifically to just finding a theme that has the layout and the graphics that you like and just using a theme. And I didn't know if
It's a
that's
good
because you're
No.
a build from the bottom guy, or
No.
if there was another reason for not doing that for some people.
No, that's a good point. I teach thesis and Genesis, but I'm actually a best tool for the job kind of guy. And I think that that for some people, they can buy a theme as long as they've seriously considered everything they want and are going to be able to live within the parameters of the theme. People can just buy themes off of Theme Forest or whatever, that are already look the way they want them to look, and can simply implement them, and that is the best, fastest way to get their website online. Now,
Okay.
it's very difficult for an instructor to teach, a large number of themes because there's enough about them that are different that you just have to pick what you're going to use and pick what you're going to teach and then teach it.
Right.
But Genesis has lots of excellent child themes. There's tons of child themes out there for Genesis, and if you can find a child theme that works perfectly with Genesis, then works perfectly with what you want to do, then most of my instruction is going to work just fine, because I teach Genesis. I might not teach that specific child theme, but if you want help with it, you can be assured of getting it from me. But when I talk about the difference between thesis and Genesis, I say that really the big difference in my mind between thesis and Genesis is that Genesis offers you very professional looking sites very quickly. That doesn't require you to do a bunch of extra stuff in order to, you don't have to do a lot of design work on your own. All you have to do is come up with the content. And whereas thesis, it's gonna get there. But currently, it does only have a handful of child themes that are particularly useful.
Right.
And or skins, I mean. And if you can find one that doesn't need to be customized and you're going to be happy to live within those limitations, you are in the best situation possible, because you don't have to spend a lot of energy figuring out or learning how to customize it. And you can spend all of your energy writing compelling content and explaining to people why you're a good fit for them, which is what
All
really
right.
matters. So
Yep.
no, I think the fastest way to get to a completed site is the best way to do it.
Right.
And
So if someone was to use a child theme, or even someone that wasn't using Genesis or Thesis, the key would be being knowledgeable enough in that very first section that you had on your diagram to be able to discern, will this theme cover all that I'm going to need it to do?
right,
And so
exactly.
for some folks, it's going to be cart before the horse. They wouldn't be able to do that without some guidance.
Right. No, that's true.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Have a good day. Okay, let's see who else. Just pardon me, I've just got a bunch of both questions and comments. I'm trying to find the difference between questions and comments here. Okay, John. Let's see. Where are you, John? I know you're in here someplace. This is supposed to be alphabetical. There you are. Hey, John, it's Rick Anderson. Just unmute your microphone. John Grigg.
Oh, hi, Rick.
Hey, John. So
Yeah, I mean, just a sort of two pennyworth, really. I think that I've got a couple of websites that I built a long time ago and wanted to build one that was a bit more effective. And it's taken me actually quite a long time to kind of get there, and I'm still getting there. But there's a couple of things that I just wanted to say or mention. They're not really questions, but comments. I think that just sort of backing up some of the things that you've said, but I would put the site up as quickly as possible because, I mean, there are millions of sites out there, and really, basically, I mean, nobody's going to see your site, really. And I think sometimes, you know, maybe we can be overly concerned about what happens if somebody finds the site and it's not exactly how we want it, and so on. And the reality is, you know, unless we're paying AdWords or something, nobody's really going to find the site anyway. So, you know, I think that we can stay reasonably relaxed about that and just be working on the site and let the, you know, the search engines start finding it and indexing it and stuff, which I think is probably quite useful.
And I think, well, you know, I used your site as an example with that menu, right? I said that the menu is a strong graphic element, and you've got a bunch of placeholder pages. But if your site is live right now, I'd take all of those placeholder pages out of the menu because you've got pages with real content on them.
Exactly. Yeah,
and you've got your call to action, and you've got a lot of stuff there, and it's at the moment it's useful, but because it's got the placeholders there, people don't realize it.
Yeah, and actually that was one of the conclusions I was, and it's good you mentioned that because I was really thinking about that today when you were talking about it, and you know, I can make private some of all the pages where the content isn't yet fully developed.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
and you
a
can
good
just
point.
take them off of the menu. I mean, the thing is, as I recall from your site, that it's not they can't even
they don't see it
if it's not on the
there.
menu, they're not going to see it anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So
yeah,
that would be, and you probably don't actually even have to make it private in order to get there. So
yeah. The other thing is that I sort of got stuck for a while because I didn't know how to do stuff and sort of expected that I should know how to do it. And I think that this thing of taking help, you know, kind of recognizing what you can do and what you can't do is really important too, I think. So that's something I've learned.
And that these things can go in parallel, right? You may be struggling with something here, but you can always just put that down and keep working on this.
Yeah, exactly. And that's actually the conclusion I've come to now is I'm making two lists of things which I'm going to ask for help on, but I don't really need to have that help right now. I can, because you know, the main thing in the end is to get the content onto the website.
Right.
And, you know, exactly how it looks, you know, in the end, it's not really so important. I think, you know, the real time is working on the content.
And you can always come back at this stage and do the tweaking.
Yeah.
Right?
So I've got
once
two
you
lists.
feel like you've got it deployed.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the other thing that, you know, being good enough for now, I think that's a good one.
Well, because I think by any objective standard, your site is good enough for now, right?
Yeah.
Your site has enough on it and has enough reasons for somebody to call you. And so all you need to do is, you know, get out of the way a little bit.
Mm. Yeah.
So, and by that I just mean remove the
stuff
elements
that isn't
from
ready
the
yet.
menu that's not ready yet. Yeah, that's all I mean.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
otherwise the site looks complete. So,
yeah.
at least to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Good.
Okay.
Okay. Well, thanks, Rick.
You betcha. Have a good day.
Yeah, you too.
Bye.
Thanks a lot. Bye.
Okay, let's see. And then Christine Bennett Clark asks a question about a site that this site was built on. This is a very simple site. Let's see. Where is the view page source? View source. This is not thesis 2. This is at best thesis 1. I can't actually tell which, well, I suppose I could tell which version of thesis it is by looking at this. But this is not a thesis 2 site. Oh, and then it opened up here. Thesis 1.7. It's a very old thesis site, actually, and it's not. It wouldn't be very easy to do in thesis 1. This was a lot of customization in thesis 1. It would be quite easy, I think, to do in thesis 2, just because it's got a lot of fairly simple stuff on it. But it would not. This would definitely be a substantial undertaking in thesis 2. I mean thesis 1. Let's see. Okay, Brian's got a question, and then I think we're done. Where'd you go, Brian? Okay, Brian Coleman, I just unmuted your microphone.
Hello there. Great class.
Thank you.
I guess it's hitting me at home, but
I was going to say, it's about time for you to get that site online, Brian.
Well, I'm excited. I've learned a lot over the year, and I like the statement that you made about learning.
Yeah.
I've learned quite a bit. I still haven't got all of the jargon down. But I think I like that we've spent almost a year doing this between me, my wife, and her friends.
And your wife and your friends have not given you very much content.
Well, they have, but they're the type, they think that what they have to say is so great that they're not going to give it to me until we're ready to totally done.
So you should let them watch the replay of this then.
I agree with you. I definitely agree with you. But I've learned a lot from your class, and your class has everything in there. It's just so much on your site for a new person like myself coming and being a part of it.
That's right.
To get the jargon down, I guess you say.
Sure.
And what comes first, the chicken or the egg? You know, it's a lot of variables there. But I guess my question, I want to give you your props on this class and the timeline and all of that good stuff. But people were asking about different little things, and I guess it really didn't apply to this class, but I'm going to ask one of those too. Giving a picture credit, like if you take a picture from somewhere, would that be best done with a plug-in, or with thesis 2 just make it happen?
Well, I would probably, it depends on how you want to give them a credit. If you want to give them a credit directly below the image,
yes,
then I would make that the caption. Now, if you're going to use a plugin, you would, the reason for using a plugin would be to add the photo credit to the image itself, or to extract, more to the point, I guess, extract the image's inherent photo credit. And there are plugins that will do that, right? Because images all have metadata associated with them, and often professionally photographed stuff has the name of the author, you know, or name of the photographer in it, in its metadata. And you would need a plugin to extract that metadata. But in terms of just displaying it publicly, I would just use the caption.
Okay, now help a beginner. Now I'm a beginner. I've seen it.
But if you look at the section where you can, when you insert an image, right, where you say insert image, there is a box for you to write the caption. If you write a caption, WordPress automatically places that caption below the image.
Got it. All right. I thank you.
You're welcome. I'm sure we'll talk on Wednesday.
We will.
Okay. Okay, so I think we are I think that's pretty much it for questions related to this actual subject material. So I'm going to be back again on Wednesday, Wednesday morning at 9 and Wednesday evening at 5 for live call and question answer session for stuff like what should be on my homepage and that kind of stuff. So I encourage you to join me then for that. But thank you very much, everybody, for participating. I enjoyed it, and I look forward to chatting with you all again soon. Bye-bye.